I never thought a morning coffee and a level 2 charger would set my street on fire, but that's how it began. At 8, I walked out to find a woman in my driveway with a crowbar, and she tossed my charger onto the lawn like trash. She looked at me and said, "This neighborhood runs on rules," smiling as if vandalism were civic duty. I'm Logan Harper. I live on a quiet cul-de-sac in Maple Grove. I work from home. I garden. I charge my car on my side of the garage, the responsible, boring stuff. 4 or 5 years I paid the bills, bought the equipment, signed permits. Margie Winslow from 3 doors down, who believes in rules the way other people believe in religion, decided my charger offended her sense of order. We'd argued about a flagpole and a hedge before. This felt like something else. I didn't yell. I set my coffee down, took out my phone, and recorded. Cameras steady you, they make you accountable for the version of yourself you'll have to explain later. Margie said, flat, "You can't put that monstrosity here. It's community property once it's plugged in." I told her I had permits. She laughed like procedure was a joke. Neighbors drifted out, some filming, some whispering. The HOA group chat exploded. Margie messaged the board with a dramatic photo. Immediate hazard. I filed a police report. The officer was sympathetic in that weary way cops are when they've seen the theater of human pettiness. The charger sat on my lawn like a disgraced trophy while Margie posted flyers about safety. Then the repair estimate came, a number that made my stomach drop. Margie, confronted with cost, shifted from theatrical to furious. She started organizing petitions and manning a table at the HOA meeting with laminated photos claiming my charger violated the neighborhood aesthetic. People laughed, some nodded, and I replied with receipts, permits, and polite emails trying to make my case in the language of forms while she spoke the language of spectacle. A twist came when the charger company offered a tamper-resistant replacement free. A technician came, installed a new unit, and told me, "This will text you if someone messes with it." I felt calmer than I expected. Then, late that week, Margie crept onto my lawn with pruning shears, aiming for the cable. The unit buzzed in my pocket. Tamper alert, unauthorized access. I peeked through the blinds and saw a silhouette bending over the cable, then hurry away when a porch light across the street snapped on and lit her retreat like an embarrassed actor. The morning replayed in my head. Margie with a crowbar, sun hat like armor, telling me she was protecting the street. It was never just about wiring, it was about control. At the mailbox, neighbors split into factions. Some wanted fairness, others liked the idea of keeping things the same. Stan, who films everything for sport, later admitted in court his clips lacked context and helped fuel the outrage. The night she tried to cut the cable felt like a warning. The tamper alert buzzed in my pocket, and I watched a shadow leave under a neighbor's motion light. It made me realize how fast petty fights can tip toward danger, and how small technologies, a text message, a timestamp, suddenly feel like shields. Margie wasn't a cartoon villain. She had reasons that sounded sensible to her, a widow who prized consistency and control. That human element made the conflict stranger. It wasn't pure malice so much as fear dressed as righteousness. Stan, who treats local drama like Saturday night entertainment, admitted later he egged the outrage on in the group chat. Maria, the technician, kept her calm and gave clear testimony about the installation and the tamper alerts, the kind of blunt facts that matter when people start inventing grand narratives. Things escalated. Margie filed complaints until a county inspector arrived to check permits. He read the paperwork carefully and declared the installation up to code. The HOA meeting meant for budgets turned into an inquisition. Margie presented with the fervor of someone addressing a jury, and for a while the room smelled like old grievances. When voices rose, the moderator called for calm, but the bruise remained. Then she sued. The word itself changed the tenor of the block. It hung heavy. In court, she spoke about community protection like it was a noble cause. I brought the video, the receipts, the technician, and the judge watched the clip where Margie tossed the charger and declared it community property. Lawyers reframed facts into narratives, but evidence is a stubborn thing. Timestamps, permits, and witness testimony narrowed the story to what actually happened. Court was quieter than you'd expect. The judge, a woman who'd clearly handled her share of petty suburban wars, watched the recording twice and said, simply, "If we let property be redefined by whoever shouts the loudest, we erode the predictability communities need." It was practical, not poetic, and it cut through the theater. Maria explained the tamper logs, the installation method, the cost of repairs, and her calm, exact testimony did more than any dramatic speech could. When the judge ruled in my favor, I felt a mix of relief and sorrow. Small claims justice doesn't feel cinematic. It feels practical, like someone finally doing their job. Margie left clutching a folder for a new crusade. Later, she put her house on the market. Maple Grove smoothed out, but there was a fresh crease where the drama had folded us. We updated the HOA bylaws not from spite, but because decent policy can prevent stupid escalation. The board added language prohibiting tampering with private installations and required clear labeling and a mediation step before any aesthetic complaint could proceed. Bylaws are boring until they aren't. In this case, they took the power out of impulsive people and moved it into process. Afterward, neighbors came over with casseroles and awkward apologies, small reparations for a rift that never needed to happen. Some people called me a snitch for filming. Others called me responsible. I don't love that label, but I accept that boundaries exist for a reason and that cameras sometimes keep those boundaries honest. I hung a small sticker on the charger private equipment, "Do not tamper," not as a threat, more as a border marker. It felt silly and important all at once. There are smaller lessons that don't fit on a permit. People invent moral causes to cover discomfort. Audiences amplify bad choices, and mediation is a powerful antidote to escalation. Paperwork matters more than pride, and a tamper alert text feels strangely like a guardian. I learned humility too. I could have tried harder to keep the conversation private before it became public spectacle, and filming, while protective, also made this performative for some. I tell you all this because it matters not just the legal win, but how we choose to be neighbors. Small choices pile up until they become storms, and if we can learn to choose conversation over crowbars, maybe fewer lawns will be battlegrounds. That's the hope I carry back to my morning coffee and my lavender, small, stubborn, and necessary. So where do you draw the line? Is it ever okay to remove someone's equipment because it ruins the look? What should communities do when the HOA becomes a weapon? Drop a comment. Tell me if I overreacted or if Margie had any point. Share your story. I want the messy takes, the legal hot takes, and the moral verdicts. If you found this worth hearing, share it, like it, and subscribe. And if your neighborhood has a similar disaster, put it in the comments so we can learn how not to become the story next.